Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button. I'm one of your hosts, Alejandro. With me is the not quite sick yet.
Oh, hey everybody, how is it going? And I rebuke that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I'm hoping you don't get sick just because of your proximity to someone else that is sick currently. But I was
My
like,
wife is a little under the weather, but don't worry, we did test it. It is not COVID.
thank God.
Life in general is pretty good. The weather has been jumping around all over the place, so it's like 58 some days and 85 the next. So it is, it's a lot.
Yeah, I can't wait for October to be done because I just want the rains to be done so I can finally get the winds of winter here, or at least the north winters, because we're basically entering our summer. That's what's ironic. Summer for us is like November, so that's why I'm like, yeah, I can't wait for the winds of winter coming in what's technically our dry season / summer. So, because I want to feel a little cozy because I hate feeling hot. And the problem about rainy season here is that once it finishes raining, it gets hot. So, but in the interest of not having to dwell on more weather talk, because that's been just the basic theme for us literally for the last 2 months, this is the X Bottom Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Thursdays from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing. Available on the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at anchor.fm/escape-gaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So, once again, Paul, because we're in the season and we're like taking full advantage of the system I set for us at the beginning of this year to be able to enjoy all these things that are coming out finally after we had such an extended dry spell. We played basically the two same games, and the first one of those was the campaign for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which when we last recorded, it had just unlocked early, so I had only seen my brother play it, and
Right.
and I was like, yeah, I saw it. It's like it looks like what I expected it to look, so I can't wait to dive in and just kind of get it out of the way. So I'll just get a positive out of the way for this.
All right.
This is a very, very, very pretty game. That there's like clips that you can find about the Amsterdam level. That's like the second or third level. Yeah. That someone in a viral way, like they went out to record the actual place in Amsterdam, and it's nigh on unrecognizable between like the two versions. Like they did that Modern Warfare 2 engine, because now this is the new evolution of this engine, because they took it a step forward from the 2019 one. Now this is like the base technology now for every Call of Duty moving forward. Like it's not gonna be like whenever the Treyarch games comes in that they usually do use their own engine. It's only a Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward that share tech. This is now the baseline tech that's gonna power everything now.
That's starting with this one.
Starting with this one, yes. Starting from this,
that's actually really good.
Yeah, starting from this going forward, and I'm like, yeah, because it's like when there's no pop in, this thing is stunning. It runs well.
That's something that I've noticed as well. There's a reason why these games have not gone for a wide open space kind of feel, unless it's very curated to look like there's a lot of wide open space. Because if they give you carte blanche to run around, boy, does it look a little bit rough when you're going from space to space.
Yeah, and mechanically still feels solid. Like I always said that the big thing that I liked, especially about the 2019 campaign, was that it felt so good to play. I was just sad that it didn't give me the excitement within its levels to like really enjoy the improved mechanics. And I would say that this one, at the very least, tries to give you some exciting moments where the gunplay can feel that you can take full advantage of its stellar gunplay. That's always been their forte. And I will say that I do appreciate that they didn't stick their head up their own asses to do a very
At
serious,
least not in the way that they did.
Exactly, with the 2019, that they were overly pretentious with the, no man, we're gonna make you feel because we're doing things to pull out of the headline, like straight out of the headlines. We want to make you uncomfortable, and they didn't come in with that level of pretension, and I can kind of appreciate that, but that's as much as the positives can go.
No really triggering civilians dying terrorist attack in this one at least.
Or no like misrepresentation of actual real life war crimes, like what happened with the Highway of Death being like whitewashed.
I still can't believe that they pulled something like that, where they're like, "Hey, this is a real thing, but we're gonna say that other people did it, not the U.S."
It's just a borderline astonishing that passed through and no one like said no, because it's like that's just blatant. Yeah. And for you, any other positives, Paul? Because
oh yeah, I'll definitely jump in here to say a couple of positive things. Of course, like you said, it looks fantastic whenever it's really focused, especially later on in the campaign. I feel like it really starts to hit its stride. It really struggles, and I feel like if there's not a majority, it's like half and half for levels where you're meant to be stealthy and levels where you're actually kind of allowed to cut loose, which is normally what the Call of Duty campaigns are known for, with like one or two stealth missions in between to really like pull you back, let you breathe in between crazy set pieces. And then this one, almost like, because of the nature of the plot being an American-based PMC rather than an actual armed forces group, and like I was thinking about it, with almost every mission they start you off like boots on the ground style military base. This is like crazy crap going down, and then they pull back and then they let you do the cool spec ops stuff. Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2, and even Modern Warfare 1 with it almost being stealth, but then jumping straight into the tanker mission. It's like there was like this nice hybrid feel of, all right, we're going to start off being cool spec ops, but then we're going to go freaking nuts with it, ending in this big bombastic set piece where you almost didn't get that, or if you did, that was the new, like, we're just going to only do it right here, and then we're going to go back to something really calm, really quiet, really like, we're going to take this super serious, but it's going to be cerebral, what is it called, Jack Ryan style of like investigation, Mission Impossible conversations here. Man, that was a long run in sentence. So needless to say is like, I like the choice for some different things, and of course the gunplay is like pristine as always, and that was just, I love that part of it. It made me want to go back and play the campaign, because I still have to wait a couple days before the multiplayer to come out.
2 days. No, actually tomorrow. Technically tomorrow at night.
Tomorrow. Okay,
so.
I almost count that as 2 days still, because lately I've not been trying to stay up late for some of those.
Pretty fair. Like you're staying up late is your 11. My staying up late is my 10 for when those things unlock. So I understand.
Exactly. So, and of course, daylight savings time is ending. I think this weekend or
next one.
Week. Next one. Yeah. November. That's what it is, because this is still October.
So now then we will be finally in time parity, at least for the next 5 months. So
yes.
Again.
Thank God. So yeah, I mean, as far as I still need to talk about actually good things, I do love the characters still. I love the change in focus. Like, it's almost like, all right, it's always the Russians, it's always the Chinese, it's always the Arabics, and it's like they
I want to give them this was a fairly decent representation of the Narcos.
Really?
Maybe not the best, but at least in the demeanor and the way that they slander each other, it feels pretty authentic. I would know. I'm a Latino, so I can understand kind of like the different dialects around me. So,
and I do want to jump into that whole side of it as well in a minute, with the representation of Central America in general, alongside the Spanish-speaking individuals, your namesake, and a few other things like that. But as far as just last good thing is, I mean, it was fun to play at certain times, and they just put in a Metal Gear Solid boss randomly in the middle of that.
Oh yeah, definitely gonna say something about that. So
overall, I mean, it was fun, but it wasn't memorable enough, and I feel like I need to revisit it to actually figure that out. So anyway, I guess spoilers for the campaign of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 2022 now, and probably the 2009 version as well, obviously. So Alejandro, let's get into some negatives or kind of mixed feelings. What do you feel?
I'll just throw it out there. This is top 5. This is in the bottom 5 of my if I have a personal ranking of the entire Call of Duty campaigns because I played through a lot of them last year.
Didn't you post that in like a document at one point?
Yeah, but I never wrote an article or anything. It was because I did it in the lead up to Vanguard, and then I inserted Vanguard, and then I just kind of never wrote it because it was like 15 campaigns or 16 at that time. Now 17 with this one.
I still need to play Vanguard's campaign.
If you can find it cheap, it's fine. It's like it's not offensive. It's just that it's just very forgettable, but it's not offensive. My thing is that I can't believe how much I was bored playing this campaign. I was like actually legitimately shocked how often this game like really tug and pull me between showing me something that seemed really cool and overstaying its welcome. This is the campaign where a lot of the levels go much longer than I feel they were intending to go. And the worst part is by going too long at times, an initial cool concept, sometimes a throwback to old Call of Duty games, then just gets stretched out to the point that then you get bored and then you just miss how perfectly paced a similar version of the same event that you're playing was done in the old games. The only time that I felt that they did a homage and didn't overstay their welcome and did something that was like, okay, I like this cool, is going through that Central America mission where ends up with you falling down the cliffs. That was like a tiny bit of like a throwback to the cliffside mission that opened Modern Warfare 2 with you with Soap, that you were like climbing. This is the opposite of you
one of like falling. The best. That and the favela mission, just such a good sense of
they're classic. They're like classics from that 2009 Modern Warfare. But then, like for example, there's the obligatory AC. Well, not even obligatory. They haven't done an AC-130 mission in forever. The last time they did it was in Modern Warfare 3 while you were in Paris.
Was that really the last one that they did? I could have sworn there was a 2019 segment.
They haven't. They have not.
It was just the camera work. That's right.
Yeah, the only that the 2019 one is shockingly like very boots on the ground. It doesn't like really put you in too many like extravagant things. That's always what I mentioned, that in its attempt to try to be more realistic and missed out on like the bombast that I like out of Call of Duty. This one attempts to try to do the bombast, but again, like there's this extended sequence in when you go back to Uzbekistan, the fictional Middle Eastern country where a lot of the 2019 Modern Warfare campaign happened. That's when you meet up with Farah again. Yeah. That was like, okay, I was like, yes, finally, this is the shot in adrenaline I was wanting. There's a bunch of explosions here. Your helicopter you were in, it just got hit, and then you fall off and you get stuck in a rope, and then most of that level you're like upside down. I was like, okay, this is cool because like they haven't done an upside down perspective in Call of Duty before. It's like, okay, this is neat. And then it tries to be Uncharted 4. Okay, now we're gonna do this jumping from car to car, trying to hijack this car to then like be able to like drive them until your car is like completely useless before it's about to explode, so you can have to like get out of the car to try to jump in. And the mechanics to try to do all of that are beyond horrible. The way the controls work, and you trying to drive that car, you mentioned it in our chat, it's like this controls like booty. It actually does. It's like, and then as you're driving, that part of the mission just keeps going and going. So all the excitement that was there before, completely done. Earlier in that campaign, there's a homage to All Gilded Up sniper mission with you and Price, and again it's like they even repeat same mechanics. That there's a part where you're like crawling, and it's like, okay, here comes the enemies. Try to anticipate the movements, just like in the Modern Warfare 1 campaign. And then suddenly it becomes like very wide open. So now that's when the visuals start to break, and you start seeing like this weird geographical pop-in, where even like enemies are blinking in and out of existence sometimes when you're shooting them. And it put into contrast something that I feel is the worst design I could have imagined them doing for this campaign, is putting almost every enemy that you fight is an armored enemy. You're like constantly having to shoot them and try to like take off their armor to be able to kill them. And only in one mission are you like in an equal playing field where you can actually armor yourself, where they do the Warzone mechanic that you just start like putting the plates with you. I'm like, why wasn't this here in the entire campaign? Why is this only here now? It just makes that what it does is that it makes combat feel like you're stuck, like It actually reminds me a lot of Black Ops 3, where there were so many enemies there that were such bullet sponges that you constantly have to like keep like shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting at an enemy more than you actually want, and it stalls your progress and it makes you going through levels be more of a slog. And to me, it just does. It just feels a little too much. I wouldn't mind one or two enemies kind of thrown against like the more tried and true. It just messes up with the pacing when almost all of those enemies are armored. And the game introduces sometimes interesting mechanics. There's like this mission that is actually one of my favorites in the game called Alone, which is that was one of the few I was like, okay, they're trying something different here. This is a complete stealth mission if you're going solo. Not gonna say why, but you go solo in like this shanty town where war crimes are actually happening. It was kind of like that felt a little too close to home. Some of the things that they were doing, because they were doing that to a Latino community. What they were doing, and those special ops. And
we both had like call outs in this for various reasons. You with that segment, and me with the missile being directed at New Orleans. And I'm over here like,
that was the tanker mission, right?
Yeah,
the one mission that was right before the Alone mission.
Dude, they did not give you enough time for that quick time event.
No.
I was like, okay, second row, third column, time.
I got that one. I got that right in the first time. When you have to do that later on in the final mission, that's where I messed up.
Same.
Yeah, same. And it gives you like this moment where your character is like injured, so you can't be like running. So you kind of have to go inside places, scrounge for like some loot, and then you like craft some stuff. Like if it's freaking Last of Us, and some people are like commenting that may be them giving us a taste of what the DMC mode is gonna be. The mode that's inspired by Escape from Tarkov.
You're absolutely right. It's totally gonna be that.
So and because that's meant to be like a more Tarkov, it's not like a traditional battle royale that's like more kill everything, be the last one standing. It's more like, no, just scrunch over everything and try to survive in a more methodical pace. And that mechanic is only in that mission, and then somehow at the peak of the last mission
they do it again.
They do it again, and I'm like, when it happened then I was like, this feels forced. Why are you doing this like at the peak of where you're meant to like climax?
The last 4 minutes of the last level, and like I was telling you, I didn't even actually have to play that portion. I immediately, like, I had some issue with the AI and they found me, and then it just immediately triggered the next segment. Like, it didn't kill me. Where I was like, oh, okay, time to reset this segment and actually take out everybody, and they're like, nope, you win. That's last cutscene.
Yeah, that's insane because you needed to for me, like, there's 2 soldiers that you need to beat with like the loot, because you have to loot, you have to like call them in, like you put some metal into a microwave to kind of lure them, and then you can like leave like a bottle of gas that's gonna explode when they trigger there. And then if you broke some glass, that's when you can go there and stab them. When you stab the second dude, that's when the main bad guy there gets you. And then there's like this cousin where he wants to like he wants to throw you, and then it changes perspective where you have to like snipe him, and that was the end of the mission.
Yeah, that was weird too. Because
it gives you control of Ghost.
it gives you control of Ghost for 2 seconds, who just happens to be across the way, and then you just pull the trigger. I thought there was going to be more of like, oh, I gotta wait till he's like not being blocked by soap in this moment, but it's just like, oh, okay, click, and then you win the game. And it felt like they were trying to hit the buttons of the Modern Warfare 2 2009, where just that awesome like drag out fight between Price and Shepard, and you'd get the knife out of your chest and throw it just at the right time, and it's like all of that is like adrenaline shot straight into my veins. But this was not that at all. Yeah,
because the pace had already been killed by having to switch to that mechanic at the very last minute. Like, that felt a little too forced. It felt like, oh yeah, we did that once, we have to do it again. So let's do it awkwardly at this spot where you're like unarmed. So now you have to kind of like use your wits. I like the mechanics when it was like you surviving in that shanty town. I didn't like it in that final mission. Especially, were you able to get the adrenaline?
Yes.
Yeah, because
so that was, oh my gosh.
Can you believe the IGN reviewer, which by the way gave this thing a 6 out of 10, this campaign, he did that entire mission without doing the adrenaline? That sounds painful. if you
I
didn't
can
find
fully
the
believe that. It's funny because it's not in like a scripted segment, so you
no.
can technically miss it because
So
it's in a random
so that
lockbox.
reviewer missed it.
And I honestly almost don't even blame them because I was surprised when I found it. Where I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, it's right here. Like, are there other ones that I could have found or something? Or was that it? And I'm really glad I did because they throw so many enemies at you by the end that you're just. I kind of played it a little fast and loose near the end where I was just dropping mines, catching people's attention. The shotgun once again just freaking killing it for me.
Yeah, I'm mad that I didn't use more shotguns because there's this section in the second to last mission where you have to fight a tank, and when that happened, I only had ARs, and a lot of the enemies that drop there are all armored enemies. So on top of having to like spend countless bullets to try to bring those down because a shotgun can bring those down much quicker, on top of the tank that completely has erratic AI of where it moves and how it sees you and shoots you.
And sometimes it can move way too fast. I mean, not too fast for a tank, but too fast for it to be kind of fair because it can instantly kill you if it spots you across the entire map essentially. And that's a bit of a pain for me personally. But yeah, I think what they could have done easily to fix this whole problem is to just have like a dialogue piece, a tip during the loading screen, just say like, hey, shotguns are especially useful against armored enemies.
Yeah, because
they're boom, problem solved. Or to give you a shotgun at the start of that mission, and then it's like, because they always hint at what you need most is usually
what you start with. Yeah.
And even though they usually provide you with something that you need in a big moment, like the sniper segment at the very end of the mission, even if you got rid of your sniper to help Laswell, they have a sniper.
They have sniper there, exactly.
So it's like they always have something. But I had to go off to the side, and I happened to find this really good shotgun, which is a one-hit kill on most of the armored enemies as long as you get their head. But I can only imagine like having to pump half of a magazine into the head of armored enemies
on top of the villain, their Graves, being completely annoying AF with its dialogue, trying to do fake Spanish, and
he was being super racist as soon as he turned evil.
Oh yeah, and on top of that, the checkpoint always like the way it checkpointed me, always like having to put me in loop, hearing the worst of that dialogue over and over and over again. I wanted to tear my hair out because I was like, on top of the frustration of this checkpointing me when I had 6 armored dudes inside my broken building at the time where I was trying to scour for a C4. Every time I checkpointed, the tank always was in a different spot. It didn't make sense why it wasn't always in the spot there. Yeah, so it was just, and there's my dog, and it just added to like that. This campaign for me was death by 1,000 cuts. It was just annoying. It was just some annoying thing after some another annoying thing, an annoying thing, an annoying thing, that it just made like for something so short for like it is for a Call of Duty campaign. It's insane to me like how much I was so ready to just be done. And give me a second. It was just all of those annoying things just added to make this campaign one that I didn't want to immediately revisit. It felt like a chore to play. It made me sad how much of this campaign tried to be like a nostalgia play. Like, remember when we did this prison break? Remember when we did this mission? Remember when we did this sniper part? Remember when we did this AC-130 part? Remember when we did this tanker and this oil rig that then eventually takes you into the boat that reminds you of that one from the first campaign? It was showing so much of old campaigns, but then with the little things of like the annoying enemy design, missions going longer than I think they needed to go, it just made me be like, if I want to play this, I'd rather play this same missions as originally intended back then. And it's sad to me that very few moments of this campaign were unique to this one, that it just made this like a pursuit of past glories for me, that just reminded me how much better it used to be back then. And it's sad when I see that they definitely put a lot of heart and soul into like the production value, the way the game feels. But then without even spoiling, but when they reveal who the next villain was gonna be for like the theoretical Modern Warfare 3, it's just to me it was like, man, with the 2019 campaign, even though I wasn't a huge fan because I like my Call of Duties to give me a certain level of spectacle that one lacked, at the very least when I played it it didn't feel at all like I was retreading the original trilogy, like at all. I have to give him the 2019 campaign its flowers. It's like they I hold in such high regard the going dark missions where you scour like in the dark with your bodies, like with a level of pacing that's very different from other Call of Duties. Even though you're in a Middle Eastern setting that harkened back to the original Modern Warfare, the scenario you were in that was more like that gave you the Benghazi kind of like Zero Dark. What was the movie Zero Dark 30?
The 13 hours.
13 hours. At the very least, I was like, okay, they haven't done that in Call of Duty. At least it's like, I feel like I'm trying new things here. Even though it's not giving me the level of memorable spectacle that I like out of my Call of Duty campaigns. This one is recycled the spectacle and did it in such a way that I felt, and none of the things that they recycled here, I thought they did better. The only time was that Central America mission that reminded me of the favela. And that was near the end of it. But other than that, it's like, yeah, it's like, I rather, if I'm in the mood, I'm going to reinstall Modern Warfare 1 and 2, the originals, 2007 and 2009, because that gives me what I want out of it. And this one tried to do that, but apparently they have run out of ideas and they can only recycle. And that to me is sad, because I think, I don't want to think that they have finally run out of scenarios and now we have reached the point where they're basically doing remakes without calling them remakes at this point with some of the recycled content here. I mean, even the way when you rescue the guy from the prison, the way he grabs you in the prison is the same way Price grabs you when you rescue him from the prison break at the Gulag in 2009 Modern Warfare 2. And that one was like, and just reminding myself of that prison break, I was like, man, remember when they really took a page out of the movie The Rock and like had that level of energy throughout that made that such a memorable mission in 2009? This prison was just like, oh yeah, they're doing another prison break. That's all it elicited from me, even though they did do the camera mechanic from what you call it from. It was a better use of the switch to cameras to tell someone to move.
Kind of felt like XCOM, honestly. And
yeah, it was cool.
For another version of that.
Yeah, I wanted them to do those unique stuff more. The things that were unique to this were good, very very few, and then everything else. It sucks that then it has all these little annoyances that just makes me think of this campaign in such lower regard compared to other ones. And I feel like I'm at the point where I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, because I told you about the replies of when one of the IGN editors, Ryan McCaffrey, he tweeted out the campaign review of the Modern Warfare 2 campaign that gave this a 6, which it was funny because I tweeted on Saturday when I beat this. I gave it a 6 myself. I was like, yeah, this is how I felt. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh god, I'm definitely not crazy then. And then I see a lot of replies be like, what are you smoking? This is the best campaign we've had in years. And I'm like, what did I miss? Or are people just wanting to be...
Cold War was way better than this.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Yeah, Cold War had style. It may not have had the quality in visuals and gunplay like the 2019 one, but it had a sense of energy and style to it that made it unique. Like I think personally, Cold War is my favorite of the recent 4 Call of Duties we've gotten since 2019. And kind of how I ranked them is probably Cold War, Modern Warfare 2019, then Vanguard. No, actually, I put... I still in my mind, I don't know if I like Vanguard better or this. I'm still like kind of... I think the highs of this one are better, but Vanguard didn't have the death by 1,000 cuts. I'm still like parsing through because I didn't feel annoyed by Vanguard. Vanguard was just like felt a little too been there, done that in the way they approached their World War II conflict, and I was just, yeah, it's like, especially when the promise was this is going to be alternate history. Remember we were like, oh yeah, they're probably going to take a page out of the Wolfenstein games, and it was none of that. So that made it, I was like, oh man, so we were sold a bill of goods. They made it seem cool in concept when they were like previewing it than it actually was. It was just about standard World War II shooter. So in this one, I think it's more that I wanted Modern Warfare 2 to be better, especially because I know now that we're not getting another Call of Duty until 2024 now. Even though they say they are probably going to make an expansion for this one, and I really want to see
what that's going to be like, honestly, because we've learned now that map packs are not the way to go, because then you split the fan base and the player base. So it's got to be either a campaign expansion of some sort. I guess maybe they're holding hope to this version of Spec Ops works, guys. We promise.
There's a that's the thing. Like, I had not heard before that they were gonna do co-op again, because I know they've been promoting Warzone 2.0 that is gonna have DMC and all that.
There's
Obviously, the
2-player Spec Ops, and then they confirmed there's going to be a raid with 3 player available. Excuse me. Yeah, 3 players available for their like special event, whatever's. So that'll be, I'm sure, bonkers, balls to the wall, and not balanced in the slightest.
No.
So I guess we'll see what they really want to do out of it, because I can't really imagine.
I just hope that it's not an afterthought, because that's what hurt the most about Spec Ops in the 2019 game. It was like everything else around it, well done. The multiplayer map sucked kind of, but at least it was a fun multiplayer to play. Campaign, again, for me, is I know it has some people really love the way that it's more grounded. I wanted a little bit more spectacle, but it was a decent campaign to play. I played it many times already. All the times being like, yeah, I wish I loved this, even though I like it. But that Spec Ops one was just cancer. It was like did I play a session there where I ever beat any level, because of how badly designed it was and how broken the mode was also. So, and what's worse is that they continued the story of the 2019 campaign through Spec Ops. There are cutscenes following through like the end of that game. That's why like this campaign for this Modern Warfare 2 didn't pick up from where they last teased in the 2019 one, because they technically continued the story through Spec Ops. But I'm like, why would you continue the story when you know your mode sucks and no one likes it? No, especially after Warzone came out, which was using a lot of the same map that they were using for Spec Ops. It's like that became like an afterthought, but they still committed to put those cutscenes there, and that to me sucks. And I hope the co-op they do here actually works, because Spec Ops in Modern Warfare 2 was one of my favorite experiences of that generation. Playing that with my brother, getting veteran and all the missions, me getting the Platinum Trophy because I had it on PS3. After a full year of trying, that was such a fulfilling mode, and I miss it. I just want them to do it well. So, but yeah, is there any other? Because at least we have the. If it just comes to campaign, this is one that I'm like, yeah, I don't think I personally can recommend this on campaign alone, but I want to give more of a shake to the multiplayer and the co-op just before I render a full verdict of this entire product. But I'm personally the campaign guy, and to me, this campaign whiffed it. I wanted it to be better, and I just wanted to be done with it. Like when I was playing it.
I think that it's definitely super valid of what has been going through your mind, and just like we talked about, are we taking crazy pills? And it's been so much that I've wanted to go back to the campaign again, to just be like, all right, did I just not think this through right? Is there something going on? Should I be playing it on a different difficulty than normal?
This campaign is way too hard for normal. I was actually shocked how quickly you can go down in this one. And they didn't give us a warning that they were going to make it more difficult. So that was also a certain kind of adjustment. I was like, why is this so hard? I'm not even playing in Hardened. I did the campaign in 2019, my first run in Hardened.
Or like Veteran, whatever the one was like the... Not the hardest, but close.
Yeah, it's like easy is recruit, regular is then it's hardened, and then there's veteran, and then there's realistic. I can't even imagine trying to do realistic in this with all these armored enemies. That would just drive me up a wall.
Especially because of the nature of certain things like the car chase scene, where it's like you're physically forced to get out of the vehicle to shoot, and then you don't have any cover, and that's like part of the whole thing for it. But anyway, just the last actual thoughts. I agree with you. I think they whiffed it. I want to try again. However, I don't think it's going to be much different, and I think it's really just going to line up to however they're going to finally implement everything in multiplayer itself. However, I do like the variety of weapons compared to what I saw in the beta. That gives me a little bit of hope for a lot of variation on different guns, because that was one of the things that kept me playing, was constantly trying to play different guns with different attachments because of how vastly different it made the gun. feel. So that's probably what I'm going to be enjoying the most, even if it's going to be ridiculous. I just hope that the next set of maps that they actually release are good and not
and for what we played when we had that conversation about when we played the beta, and me having that conversation with my brother, how the hardcore community was feeling incensed by the movement changes and all that.
Right.
As I was not that hardcore, I could see like the slowness, but that didn't personally affect me like it did him, and that didn't affect you either, because to you it's like it's finally gonna try to level the playing field again. I thought the maps from the beta were much better than the initial wave of maps from the 2019 multiplayer. So that automatically to me puts it a leg up, at least when it comes to multiplayer. I just hope the entire suite is strong, because the entire multiplayer suite in the 2019 one was not. So it was until they started remaking old maps and finally bringing in the new ones where that multiplayer kind of came alive again. But yeah, and I want to see Warzone. At least I'm gonna take a whiff into and a smell of what Warzone 2.0 is like, just out of kicks, but that's definitely not for me. But I definitely want to try DMC. I'll definitely just try everything before. But to me, it's like I'll see if I immediately uninstalled Modern Warfare 2 when I was done. I might reinstall it just for the multiplayer, but again, it's like I want to try to put myself, because it is rare for me to feel so negative when I see so many trying to say that they're positive, unless Call of Duty is just the series where everyone's just going to be contrarian for contrarian's sake. Like, oh, why do you keep giving Call of Duty just high scores? It sucks. And now they actually give it a low score. No, this one didn't suck. So it's like, I don't know where like the consensus is, but I just know that I have played all these campaigns all the way back to Call of Duty 2 in 2005. I've enjoyed the majority of them. It's very rare for me to feel one really sucked. And it sucks that this one in particular feels like it's down there. So, yeah. But maybe a second run through it might change my, but I think the 2019 one is just better. So, Gotham Knights, Paul. This one was the other one that came out technically the same day as this campaign opened. And the day before it had come out, it was like, that's where we saw some of the reviews. I was like, oh, is this another Saints Row? Where I'm seeing like a 5 from IGN, and GameSpot gave it a 4. Like, what the heck? But then there were a few 8s. Game Informer gave it like a 7.3. It has currently like a 60. It had a 69 the last time I checked in Metacritic. Let me see what if
we'll say while you look that up. What a dark horse of a release, because it's once again showing that it is. There's such a split going on now, where I think once again we're coming back to this statement of everybody is looking for the next masterpiece. Everybody being media, the big critics and everything. And if it doesn't reach that level of, okay, this is now the bar you have to reach for the next release because X, Y, and Z games made it to this, why are you not there? And then they forget that some games don't have to be great, they can still be really fun. And I think we have somehow found this little carved out piece hidden behind the waterfall of games that is AA again. Yeah,
so I want to say this, like, media is not the one that's always looking for the next masterpiece. They just seem to be even harsher now. It's just like the general public, the ones that just want that because certain games already hit that. But now I'm starting to see the argument of like maybe media has finally started to shift that mentality, that maybe standards have changed, that they're gonna make that they're gonna start seeing things a little more harshly. And let me say, I feel critics went even harsher on this because of the reveal the day or two before the game was coming out that it was gonna be capped at 30 frames. The first like next gen only game that was gonna be.
Forgetting that because it feels surprisingly good for the most part. It was a lot more obvious for me with Plague Tale Requiem now. Which was, it just felt like it was 30 frames, but this with Gotham Knights feels a lot smoother at 30.
And here's what's happened. Your eyes already got retrained with Plague Tale. You were already getting ready. Now that you're in Gotham Knights,
your eyes... so? Because I was jumping from Modern Warfare 2
No, don't do
Gotham
that.
Knights.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, when I jumped from Gotham Knights, Modern Warfare 2 to Gotham Knights and still didn't really feel like, oh gosh, this is really bad. Maybe because there's so much going on, perhaps, but I don't know. I feel like I'm dealing with it a lot better than I was with Plague Tale by far. Maybe because there's less going on with Plague Tale and there's more to focus on in the like a smaller space. But yeah, just to stop my comparisons for those two because they came out so recently and both had 30 frames per second.
Yeah, they were the two next gen only games that had that were 30 frames. I feel that prepped the scenario for people to be even harsher in it because they already had that stick up their shoulder being like, why is this 30 frames when it doesn't even look that much better than Arkham Knight that came out 7 years ago? And people doing the comparisons of the skyboxes and all that. And there is merit to it. I will say this. I don't think Gotham Knights is a good game. The game crashed on me 3 times yesterday when we were trying to play co-op. And it definitely has a weird structure where it does the Assassin's Creed 1 thing of like, if you want to keep progressing the story, you have to do this side stuff, this repetitive side stuff / challenges to advance. And I've had different, like, even though when it runs at 30, it actually, I'm like, my eyes feel fine. Like, I've been hearing a lot of these brouhahados, like 30 frames is completely unacceptable anymore. It's like, you're gonna absolutely feel like how crappy it is. It's like, in comparison to how smooth everything else can be, yes, but I don't think it has made the game unplayable. It has a few frame rate drops, which I felt the more when we were playing co-op yesterday, when the farther you got away from me with the untethered co-op, like, I saw like sustain, like because I have an idea now, like, what a sustained low frame rate can be. I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm sustaining 20 frames right now, like in this, me doing this premeditated crime by myself. And yeah, it's like, it has a problem with performance, but the thing is that also on PC, like the PC version cannot do like a stable, you cannot reach 60 frames there. This game was weirdly optimized. I don't think they optimized the game well with its engine. But besides that, even though I don't think it's a good game, like objectively a good game, I'm having a great time with it. I spend, yes, it's been 3 nights now that I have gone to bed until like 1 a.m. just playing it. There's just I think there's like amidst the rough, there's like there's a few shining spots within this diamond. I feel like, even though it has a bunch of crap that can like bring it down, and it definitely doesn't have like the polish of like the Arkham games, I still feel there's just something to it that, if you're not too bothered about like it not being like the highest quality of things, like I'm just enjoying just playing with all the 4 characters, like leveling them up, trying to like understand the nuances. The combat, even though it's very simplistic, like there's just something like, I have understand with myself that I think I have a high tolerance for brawlers. Like Avengers was a brawler. This is also a certain kind of brawler, also with RPG elements. I would say this game does loot better than Avengers. Avengers loot was so arbitrary, and this one, like, crafting different kinds of pieces of gear that has elemental damages and all that, really, I'm seeing a tangible improvement in the gameplay, like me fighting the Mr. Freeze goons with my Nightwing that has fire elemental, and that completely quickly eliminating them. I was like, yeah, this, like, it feels like there was some thought put into some of the loot game in this, even though it's not like the most polished thing in the world. But besides that, it's like, yeah, it's weird that this is the second time it's happened this year, like where we saw a game that would get critically panned like Saints Row, and we ended up enjoying it. Again, I had to preface that had we bought this individually for $70, $60 for Saints Row, would we feel as forgiving of some of its shortcomings? I think that can be, because I've been talking with a friend about it. I feel this is a great game to get on a sale, especially because it being sold at a premium when other premium stuff absolutely look better. I can see why that'd be a little bit more incensed, but I feel that's what helps us with our arrangement that we have had, because it's like we don't feel the sting in the wallet more, and we feel like we've gotten a good deal out of it. Especially you, that for some reason you put too much value on value. that I can't quite do that, because it's like, yeah, this game can give you 100 hours of value, but what if it sucks? Is this still value?
level
Yeah.
of it. I find myself, especially on certain games that focus a whole lot on the gameplay itself, like this one, where it's like, hey, the story is great and all that stuff, but we want you to keep playing this game in a repetitive combat scenario for about 20 to 30 hours. Is the gameplay enough to really help me to turn my brain off and just forget that time passed? Or am I going to feel every minute of those 20 hours? And there's certain games that really line up well with that, and some that just really don't. And somehow I can find within my own preferences, like Shadow of War, which just unironically did some really bad decisions about padding, and somehow is kind of able to look past it based on both the IP and the fact that the gameplay was just really dumb fun. And I think this is the exact same junk food scenario, where it's like the gameplay is just fun enough that it doesn't matter that I'm technically going to the same buildings to do the same kind of thing. I mean, that's basically what most live service games do when you're trying to grind things out, except instead of grinding out gear, you're more just grinding out the experience for almost like if you could turn your brain off enough, you're just like, hey, I'm just helping the city of Gotham, and you don't really have to think about the exact logistics of, hey, this looks exactly like that other warehouse I was in. And as long as you're willing to kind of forego that and like a suspension of disbelief, you're going to have the time of your life with it. And then 5 hours have gone by and you're like, wow, that was really fun. Look at this cool outfit I've got.
Yeah, like yesterday, like we played for like 2 hours, right? Then I played 3 more after we were done. I was like, there's just, I feel like a game has to be legitimately bad.
Yeah.
Like, and if I play it and then I stop, but it's like, yeah, even though this thing is like, some people really wanted to pan it. It's like, I don't play a game for like 5 hours straight. I want to keep playing and I have to force myself to sleep if there's no good inside of it. Like that's what I come into realization. And you mentioned earlier, I feel like we ourselves we have rediscovered our love for the AA in a way. Even though this was positioned as a AAA, like especially based on the prestige of the previous Arkham games, and this, even though it didn't want to. It was like, no, this is not an Arkham game. This is its own thing. There's so many elements of this thing that scream Arkham still.
Yeah.
That I feel is being a little facetious saying that it's really not. So, but even then it's like, yeah, there's really some good here. And I think our friend Zach, which I have given up on ever getting back into the show ever again because he's always busy. I think he's definitely having a worse time with this because he's a little bit more of a bigger Bat Family fan or Batman fan that we probably are. I enjoyed the Batman universe. I specifically do love the Batman sidekicks. I feel like they just add a different dynamic to Batman's more like dark, grimmer stories that tend to be part of that. Even though Batman has been part of like many campy stuff before, but it's like I'm enjoying the characterizations here. Like there's some really great character moments when you're like at the base, the Belfry, and you do some of the cutscenes that sometimes unlock in between missions, and you get like great characterization like between Jason Todd and Barbara Gordon, sometimes in between Robin and Dick Grayson with Alfred, and even just mixing
literally
and matching.
Everyone.
Yeah, literally everyone. It's like there's interesting like interdynamics, even though there's some really bad dialogue at times. Like they did equivalent of the They Fly Now from the Rise of Skywalker with in regards to Mr. Freeze, and it doesn't surprise me because a writer for Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Star Wars Squadrons eventually joined the writing team for this. So I can imagine him for some reason be like, no, that's like actual good dialogue from Rise of Skywalker. I'm gonna put that in here. So
I think the worst. I feel like people almost demonize that phrase and that style almost too much, because I know, like, as in personal life, when I have something really ridiculous happen, that's almost the exact tone that I make whenever I respond to something. But the problem is, I think it just can't come across genuine anymore because of the way it's been portrayed so many times. That even though, like, in practice it would probably be really funny to most people, especially somebody that's would say that exact line to me standing next to me, but it's when you watch it that you just like, something doesn't feel right about this. And there's so many ways to deliver a line that it's almost impossible to nail that exact
it's just a little. I feel like we have had people call it the Joss Whedon effect of like trying to be a little overly quippy. That I feel like
that's almost giving him too much respect in a way.
The thing is, he's the one that introduced. He was the one that introduced that. He was famous for that, and then everyone else tried to copy it.
I mean, since Firefly and everything before that, even. But it breaks my heart because I loved that style. Like, look at Supernatural back in its early seasons. It had that energy.
Yeah, even though it wasn't really. But that's the thing. It could be quippy, and somebody didn't feel Whedon. Like it didn't feel Joss Whedon. It had a certain level of charisma to it that it didn't feel, because with Joss Whedon dialogue, if you see Buffy, if you see Angel, if you see Firefly, and then eventually some of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then even the Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, it's like he has a certain overly quippy style to him that at its time, especially when he went mainstream with that first Avengers, like that was such a revelation because it helped. Like, we still have to give them its flowers, because it was that level of not taking yourself seriously and try to make fun of like what's seeming very serious that helped audiences kind of penetrate into something that could have been unpenetrable with like the more comic booky stuff. Because remember, we were coming off from the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy that definitely took itself very seriously with very few moments of levity that came out of its seriousness. But again, it's like the pendulums swung way too far, and now, like, especially now that the MCU went from like, man, this unlikely thing now has become the most popular thing in the world. Now when it's the most popular thing in the world, and everyone else is trying to do that overly quippy dialogue, we hear it here, we hear it in Star Wars, and then it feels like, is this all dialogue can be? I think that's the problem. Because the Disney trilogy of Star Wars definitely marvelized itself with some of the quips and all that. So,
especially by Rise of Skywalker, at least in the. There were parts of Force Awakens, like, I feel like there were parts that still made me genuinely laugh in certain parts, like
that it was more the physical comedy. Thank you.
Yeah,
like the BB-8, the thumbs up, that was freaking awesome. But it wasn't the entire movie.
Finn trying to explain certain things, and then Harrison Ford just looking at him and go, "That's not how the Force works." It's just like,
and it helped because it wasn't him being like quippy. It was like the quipping like striking itself to like something more serious, and I feel that's sometimes the best way to do it. You don't need everyone to be a complete a quipster. You need your I'm done with this crap guy to bounce off of the overly quippy guys. And maybe that's the one thing missing from like the Gotham Knights dialogue right now, that all four of them seem a little too quippy, and I would like Alfred to be a little bit more done with things. He seems a little bit more in vogue with like just imagine it's like Alfred more and trying to deal more with the kiddos.
You know, I think the best way that they could have done it is if Damian Wayne had been an NPC that was in all of these situations. In addition, not playable, but was just there to be pissed off at everybody. I feel like,
and have the four be like they are. I haven't like the character is there.
Because that almost lines up perfectly, because you think that it's going to be Jason Todd, then you realize he's just a big teddy bear. Then you think maybe it's Dick Grayson, and he's way too genuine Boy Scoutish. Then you think maybe it's Tim Drake, and no, he's just the nerdy guy. And then Barbara Gordon is Barbara Gordon, so that just doesn't work.
Barbara is all. I love this about Barbara Gordon. They actually really nail like the genuineness of Barbara Gordon in this. It's like
they give her a lot of pathos because of especially saying that Jim Gordon is dead before the start of the game, where you're just like, you see it right behind the curtain that she puts up, especially in the shared cutscene that we showed, where she's recreating a diorama of a crime scene with her photographic memory, including Jim Gordon as detective at the time. And so it's just really great to see the dynamics bounce around each other. And overall, I'm enjoying the crap out of myself. So it's almost like critics be damned in a way.
Right. I'm in the Black Adam. I'm kind of like in the Black Adam scenario where like you see that the critics. The critics are like savaging it right now, but it has like a 90% audience. So it's like sometimes it's good not to be a critic in a way, because sometimes we can just enjoy things. And again, like I mentioned, this game is not perfect. I don't even think it's good, but I'm having a really good time, probably a great time, because if I'm not enjoying 5 hours I spend almost nightly with this thing, and I'm like here like, no, this sucks, like I would be saying it, but no, I'm actually enjoying it. Maybe it falls apart later on, maybe something happens near the end and I'm like, yeah, this completely unraveled. We've had moments where we were really enjoying. I mean, perfect example, Metroid Dread. Remember that?
Yeah.
You're really enjoying, and then the very end,
Good
boom.
point.
Yeah,
but you see, another thing that's going to be solved heavily. Well, is there a difficulty rating for Gotham Knights?
Yeah, there's a.
Wait, I started on easy. What am I talking about?
Yeah, you started on easy, and then you put it on normal.
I must have. No, I'm thinking of Plague Tale doesn't have
difficulty.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was thinking of. Anyway, yeah, go back to that. Once again, something that can easily be fixed by just shifting the difficulty a little bit if you have an issue. Even Kena Bridge of Spirits, with as we talked about, it's really terrible parrying system and really bad. Final villain was able to at least be sort of mitigated by bumping down the difficulty just to allow you some forward momentum, where of course Metroid Dread just didn't until recently.
Yeah.
So
and even then you can like switch difficulty midstream. You have to like start the game like on a difficulty and remain there. So
right, that's another reason. So yeah, that's probably all I have to say about it. I'm just
so far I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to keep playing it. Like this is definitely all I'm gonna be playing until I finish it before God of War, and maybe I will sneak it Plague Tale. I just say this, even though I mentioned it that I was so highly anticipated of Plague Tale, there's just something about Gotham Knights that I just want to play it more. And I think kind of what I said, I told it to you yesterday, was that with the few hours that I play of Plague Tale, it's reminded me why I like that first game, but I haven't had a Batman game in 7 years. So I'm gonna play something I haven't had, like, even though we have had superhero games, I haven't been in like the Batman universe like this immersed since Arkham Knight. So I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna play, even though it's not the best thing in the world. I definitely want to experience this right now, and then eventually go back to Plague Tale, because I already know that Plague Tale's great. It's like they're almost equally great. So
that's true. And I think last closing thoughts, it made me realize how much I appreciated like Arkham Asylum, the first one, because I had no knowledge of Batman besides the Gotham Knight trilogy before that point, which I mean it predates most of the Dark Knight trilogy, I think, right? Because you said Batman Begins was 2005.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Michael Keaton Batman? No, because you said a Gotham Knight trilogy. I was like, what are you talking
about? Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, the Dark Knight trilogy,
yeah, that's what I meant. So that was my first intro to Batman, and then the Arkham Asylum games like really included everything that I was like, I've never heard of this. Who's Killer Croc? That's terrifying. What the crap? And so then that whole idea.
So like Dark Knight made allow for Batman to feel legit again in pop culture after it got completely massacred with Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And then Arkham Asylum came a year after The Dark Knight, kind of like taking the Batman IP seriously, but not grounded, embracing like the out there-ness that is the entirety of Batman's universe, and introducing it in a way that finally taught us a lot of like how interesting Batman's universe can be outside just like the way that was portrayed in the Nolan trilogy. The Dark Knight trilogy set the stage, and then Arkham Asylum gave us like the means in a medium that we actually love, for it to be like to really push us into learning more about the Batman universe. So that definitely happened to me with Asylum. Yeah. So overall, like, I'm liking Gotham Knights. I don't know if I can fully recommend it at a full price. Definitely, it's so close to Black Friday. Maybe you can find it for a sale, unless you're a really, really big Batman fan that really wants to play with his Bat Family characters, and you don't mind technical issues or an oversimplistic combat system at times, or having to do with some loot. I feel it's a decent game. I'm having a decent time with it. So, and I can't wait to play more. I definitely can't wait to play more after we finish recording, I tell you. So, all right, enough of that, Paul. Like, we have a few news stories. This one, especially the first one, that it's interesting to talk about in light of Gotham Knights. So, press X.
Wait, for some news.
Twice in a row, Paul, you have like messed up the news transition. That's so funny.
I'm gonna get replaced next week, guys. It was a nice time seeing it.
Don't worry, you're irreplaceable so far. So, story number 1 by BGC, Paul. This one broke today, and I was like, this is interesting. Rocksteady founders Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker are leaving the studio. So, for everyone that knows, Rocksteady are the people that made Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. Gotham Knights was made by W.B. Montreal, who last did Batman Arkham Origins, that took the technology from these guys. So Rocksteady co-founder Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker are leaving the studio. It's been announced. In a letter posted to the Rocksteady website, David Haddad, president of WB Games, made the announcement. With Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League nearly finished, they have both decided to leave Rocksteady at the end of 2022 and will begin a new adventure in gaming, the letter reads. We have the utmost respect and gratitude for Jamie and Sefton and wish them all the best in their new endeavor. And like many fans, we look forward to what they do next. Nathan Burlow, a longtime Rocksteady director of production and original founding member of the studio, will now become the studio director, and Darius Sadigian will become the studio product director. Hale and Walker released a joint statement as part of the announcement and confirmed that their next move in the game space will be together. Our decision to leave Rocksteady was emotional, to say the least. From the day we founded the company in 2004 all the way to today, Rocksteady has been our life and soul. Now with Suicide Squad in safe hands and the team here stronger than ever, it's time to hand over the reins and for us to start a new adventure together in games.
Honestly, I know I was a lot harsher on this whole concept, thinking that there was really bad stuff going on. This almost has the energy of like, all right, we found this and we're just kind of tired, as opposed to, hey, things are really crappy and we need to get the hell out. Like, there's just certain choices of words that almost make me feel like they've kind of burnt out on this, and like clearly this company is no longer under really like their decision creatively. So I don't know, I almost feel like it's like, oh yeah, this is probably a good time for a change, rather than, okay, there's something really messed up going on in this company right now.
Yeah, to me it's like, even though it definitely has like, it seems like there is good justification for why they're leaving, I still look at the entire output and like the environment around this, and the truth is, Rocksteady hasn't released a full game since 2015, Arkham Knight.
There's a lot more like extrapolation going on with
exactly.
This.
It's like I know that there's something must have gone at that studio from like 2016 when they released Batman Arkham VR to right now, almost 6 years, where no game like it took forever for a game by them to be announced. And on top of that, a game that was supposed to come out this year that then got pushed to 2023. That I do wonder if the ways that things were going at that studio in that time period is what finally made them decide, you know what, I think we're kind of done. Like, let everyone else deal with this mess. And I'll say, especially there's something weird happening at WB Games, because a lot of their games that are recently coming out have all gone through very extended development time. Like Gotham Knights, we were just talking about. I enjoy that game, but let's not mince words. That took 9 years since their last release game. What was happening at the development of the studio? And even then, this game came out, and you can definitely say that it came out maybe like right fresh off the oven, with some of the technical problems some people can have. I mean, it crashed on me, like I said, three times while we were playing co-op yesterday. So it was like, it's just something to really think about, that it may not have been just like all rosy. And on top of that, Warner Brothers itself, remember, it just went through the whole Discovery merger. We know how that has been going. Maybe they're smelling blood in the water based on the things that David Zaslav, the guy that it's now at the charge of this, has been doing to try to lower the debt. So maybe they're like, you know what? Before he sets his eyes towards this area, let's just gracefully exit. Just spitballing out there. It's just that this rosy statement is like, it's very hard to like for me to not mirror it based on Warner Bros. As a whole, and in the context of this studio not putting anything out. And it's gonna be 8 years next year when Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League releases. So
I think they did the right thing, whatever it was. No matter what. Because I can almost
18 years at a studio. I mean,
the work that they've done with that place, putting the company on the map, all the work that they did, all the crap they had to deal with from WB, and now with like WB just not even knowing who owns them, I think that is like, all right, you know what? We're gonna make sure that this project is like in good hands, and we're gonna get the hell out of here. Yeah,
that's probably the better way to see it. Personally, the way I see it, And because it's crazy because they didn't used to be a WB studio.
Yeah.
They were under Eidos. Their first game was this shooter from like 2005 called Urban Chaos. I don't know if you remember. It was like kind of like about police riots. Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up now.
Yeah, it's like Urban Chaos. Rocksteady Riot Response is called. It was like a where you were like a police. It was like from back in 2005. So that was their first game. And then their second game was Arkham Asylum, and that was such a shocker because it was like, who are these guys? Why are they doing a Batman game? What was the last game they did? Urban Chaos? This seems weird. And also remember, you probably don't remember this, but I do remember the lead up to Arkham Asylum. That game didn't preview well. The preview, there were a lot. Yeah, that game, like the previews were very harsh on it. It'd be like, man, this weird. It's like this game that has like over the shoulder camera that then suddenly like the camera lifts up and then there's like this combat and then suddenly becomes like a stealth game and all that. It's like, we don't know about it. But then when people actually got to play the whole thing, everyone was like, this is the greatest superhero game of all time. So that game was like such a shocker in the review scene because everyone thought maybe this could be good because at that point we were in the middle of the, man, are people just not going to release good superhero games anymore because we're getting a lot of crap recently. And that one just came out like with a level of prestige that, I mean, they made Batman a Game of the Year contender. That's probably where people are even harsher on Gotham Knights because when you think about it, like the Batman Arkham games were like in the Game of the Year tier. So
take one look at the cape from Arkham Asylum, and then that's like all you need to even look at because of how good that crap was. I remember being okay. So this is another example of how low my standards were. The fact that I noticed like 3/4 through the game that Batman was slowly having battle damage on his arm. I didn't realize it until like the holes in his cape near the end, and then I would like turn the camera, was like, holy crap, he's been like taking damage this whole freaking time. And that like blew my mind as a concept because I never thought of something like
because
that.
It was the time where games now are focusing more on giving you like the tiny little details, like trying to like take it a step up. I mean, that was the year where we finally got Uncharted 2 also, a game so defined by the little details also. So man, it's like I just hope that whatever they do next is like it's something that can be a revolution. Like it can have the impact their Arkham games did, because let's not like mince words. Like Arkham Asylum really changed the industry for superhero expectations and all that. Spider-Man 2018 took that to the next level, but all of that started somewhere. So I wish them the best. It's still like I would say there's something smelly in the air in regards to the reasons why they're leaving, but we'll definitely just see. So story number 2, Paul. This one was interesting, and I definitely want to talk a little bit more about this. So story number 2, also by Chris Collian at BGC. The other one was also by BGC Jordan Miller. Sony is building a new dev team to work with Visual Arts and Naughty Dog on the AAA title. A new job listing for a senior producer role at PlayStation refers to the new team and states that it's being put together to work on a new project. Sony PlayStation is building a new internal game development team in partnership with PSS Visual Arts, an award-winning full production group that specializes in animation, motion capture, cinematics, art, and scanning, the listing reads. This high-visibility project has been developed in collaboration with Naughty Dog. Though currently unannounced, we have a clear vision and plan to release. Using our existing expertise and premier talent, we will guarantee a high visual quality bar for the game and a compelling experience for our players. Although the listing doesn't give more information on the scale of the specific game being planned, it states that as the ideal candidate, you will be proficient in all aspects of AAA game production and management. It also adds that candidates have worked on 2 or more published AAA titles, at least one of which must have been as a senior producer during the entire development cycle. This implies that the project will be a big budget title. While potentially unrelated, earlier this year Naughty Dog's newly appointed recruiter seemingly hinted that Sony was planning future Uncharted releases. So, do you remember a month or 2 ago we were talking how Xbox's Matt Booty was mentioning that the days of AAA development being done under one studio were basically done? That now like projects needed 2 or more studios?
I remember the name, but not what we were talking about.
Yeah, so Matt Booty is the guy that oversees Xbox First Party. He was doing like he was doing a chat that mentioning, the way game development works in this day and age, it's gonna be impossible for only one studio to now be able to release a AAA game. at the scale that everyone. And then he used Perfect Dark as an example. Like, look at Perfect Dark. It's like the initiative. We blamed it because of because of using that as an example, because no game had come out there, and we know from reporting that it's like the only reason that Crystal Dynamics was brought into work on that team was that the main team working at the Collision, they lost 50% of their staff to attrition and leaving. But he had a point when God of War went gold. Let me go to the Sony.
Oh yeah, because there were like something close to 10 to 12 different studios that helped them out.
Yeah, so let me see real quick. Sony Santa Monica on Twitter when they announced that.
Well, you looked that up. I want to see if I understand this quite right. So essentially, Sony is collaborating.
It's building a new team to work with this other two studios, Visual Arts, that always works with Naughty Dog. Just recently, just to kind of give an idea, Visual Arts was actually the team that headed the Last of Us remake. The idea of remaking The Last of Us came from that Visual Arts because they were always a support studio. So what that means is that they were always like, if they need help, it's like, hey, we need help with extra animation, art assets, and blah 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 blah. Then okay, found a picture.
Okay, so essentially, this is like, hey, we're building something. There's no information besides.
Yeah, we're just basically now we're building you an extra support team to work on this game. And that to me just puts into context that what Matt Booty was saying is right.
But the only thing that we could say as what it is about is that there's been rumors about the interest in future Uncharted games.
Because
we don't really know.
That's just spitballing, because remember earlier this year they hired like a new product manager that mentioned that she was like gonna oversee like the future of Uncharted or like the preservation of Uncharted, something like that they were mentioning. Yeah. So I found the picture. I had to go all the way to October 7th to find the Gone Gold. So that's when God of War went gold. Yeah. They put a picture saying Gone Gold and many images in it. So like, for example, it says Sony Santa Monica Studio, and then they put PlayStation Creative Arts, which is like the visual arts team, Valkyrie Entertainment, Blue Point Games, Red Hot, Super Aloy, Jetpack, Super Genius, and Original Force. 8 teams worked in God of War Ragnarok. 7 assisted Santa Monica to be able to push this project. Maybe Sony finally realizes, yes, like the days of, especially if we want to do games at the high level of quality that we're known for, like what gamers expect, the highest level of visuals and frame rate and art and blah blah blah. That can no longer be done just with one studio. And maybe they finally realized that with Naughty Dog, Visual Arts, PSS Visual Arts, they aided Naughty Dog in completing Last of Us Part 2. They came up with the idea that they wanted Visual Arts to be a more legit first-party studio instead of a support studio. So Michael Mumbauer, the guy that built that team, they came up with the idea of like, let's prove our bones. Let's see if we can remake something. Let's try to remake The Last of Us. But then that team only had like very few people in it, and then Sony was like, wait, you guys are remaking, want to do The Last of Us, we're gonna do this? Naughty Dog is gonna be involved. So then Naughty Dog took that project, and then they ironically, the guys that started that project became the support studio on that. But that's besides the point. It's just, and now I just find it interesting that now that's becoming official, that every game that's gonna be made, you understand why there's not acquisition sprees happening, because games cannot just happen at the high level that we want. The masterpieces that the gamers want, they will no longer be able to happen just under one roof. Everyone need help. They will need help. So it makes me wonder, is this the only team that they're building, or are they going to start building more teams? Because I know a lot of people are saying that the smart thing for Sony to do, instead of having to go and acquire teams, maybe it's to build up teams instead of having to like take in the market, like try to build them up naturally. I feel a good medium would be acquire, because that's the thing, like this Valkyrie Entertainment, that was acquired by Sony back in December, specifically to aid and support. There you go.
I think that there's, just to mention the whole acquiring versus building up naturally, that's a problem that's going on in every area of business, I think, because not a lot of companies not nearly enough companies understand the whole concept of actually building talent and within, but they're very okay with just hiring somebody from outside, even to the point I remember in one of my classes back in like 2016 or 17, they said that it's almost better with some companies to quit your job and then get rehired as like the next area, as opposed to just trying to get promoted naturally. Because so many companies just don't understand how to like build their own processes and standard operating procedure and all that stuff, and that's just a problem across the board since how many years it's been since I was in college. So I can only imagine it's still a problem. And so I almost recoil a little bit when there's more people that are like, hey, let's just acquire this studio that's clearly doing something right, as opposed to figuring out how to teach people to do these things. So
like for example, Sony Santa Monica was a team that Sony built from the ground up, but with people that they had that had already worked on other Sony studios. Some of those are long gone. Like even Sony San Diego was built from the ground up. Visual Arts was built from the ground up. But Naughty Dog was purchased. Sucker Punch was purchased. Guerrilla was purchased. Insomniac was purchased. So they definitely have not been like they have. PlayStation hasn't grown its first party just naturally as it's just that we built everything from the ground up. It's just that they have. Within those purchases, then they have nurtured and built up from there. I should
clarify, because they, as we've always talked about it, Sony likes to work with a team for a long time, which I almost would say is another layer of building up talent, as opposed to just buying the people and then trying to just say, well, you're clearly good, now go do this thing, like we've seen a million other times where we won't even mention the names of the companies that keep doing that stuff. And of course we do have a lot of problems with what Sony's been doing, but I have appreciated and respected the concept of, hey, we're going to work alongside you and cooperate really long for several years, and let's just
objectively see it. That approach, especially in the long term, is why they were so successful from an exclusive standpoint in the PS4 generation. Because they built up that level of quality because of patience and time. Obviously, right now there's this weird consolidation domino that happened when Microsoft announced that they're acquiring Activision. That now we're getting past that nurturing point into, oh yeah, let's just swallow everything up. Let's just see like what's there. If we can afford them, does it make sense does it kind of make sense for a strategy? Okay, swallow. That's like that's the one thing that sucks about this new era that we started with the consolidation. Everyone just trying to like own everything or not leave anything independent out in the market. But this is encouraging for me in a year where Sony to me has just been the absolute worst in the way that they have been behaving, especially in a year where they're actually releasing games. This is the kind of news that I'm like, okay, at the very least they are doing something smart that they can do within their own means, which is like build up a support studio to basically strengthen this. Just think about it this way: maybe having this new dev team that's going to aid Visual Arts and Naughty Dog is how we get more Naughty Dog games quicker.
Fair enough.
So probably, you know what, the Insomniac model is probably like inspiring them. Insomniac is like 2 teams in California and 1 team in North Carolina. Look how many games they put out. So,
and you know what? I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe but that's the thing. Like we made fun of Matt Booty for having used the perfect dark ensemble, but he called it. In this day and age, a game cannot just be done by one single first party studio. Just seeing the 7, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, having freaking 8 support studios for them to finish God of War Ragnarok. I said that to me says it all. That's the amount of people, that's the amount of studios you need to get to create a game at that high level of quality. So, and definitely over in the Microsoft side, they're definitely not wanting for having a lot of studios. So.
Speaking of Xbox.
Yes, speaking of Xbox, this one is an interesting one to follow up on price hikes we talked about a few months ago. Story number 3, also by BGC's Jordan Midler. Phil Spencer hints at future Xbox console, game, and subscription price increases. I think at some point we'll have to raise the price on certain things. That's what. So, speaking at Wall Street Journal Tech Live, the Xbox boss discussed the console's price point as well as the prospect of charging $70 for games, something most third-party publishers and rival Sony now do. I think at some point we'll have to raise the prices on certain things, Spencer said via journalist Tom Warren. But going into the holidays, we thought it was important to maintain the prices. He added, we've held price on our console, we've held price in games, and our subscription. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I do think at some point we'll have to raise some prices on certain things.
Well, we called this,
yes.
Right?
Oh,
we
yeah.
Called it.
Oh, yeah.
Where I remember distinctly, despite my terrible memory normally, that as soon as Sony said that they were going to have to possibly raise the price of the console,
that's the thing. They didn't say, they just did it. That's the thing. Sony didn't announce. They just immediately did it.
So they did, and then everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, what's Xbox going to do?" And they're like, "No, we're not raising the prices. We're going to be like here for the gamers and stuff." And we were both like, "Yeah, okay, you're going to do that for the free PR and then do it in a few months." Here we go.
Yeah.
So
and to be fair, they still haven't done it, but now they have put it out there, and I think this now just makes it clear the economy right now is complete shit right now. Like, and let's not forget, what did they announce last week? 1,000 pair people being laid off from the $2 trillion company that is Microsoft. So even a company as highly in such high valuation like that, they're starting to really feeling the way the economy is like maybe squeezing them, you know, and maybe they may have like a bedrock of a lot of money that could help them sustain keeping things. And they mentioned that right now they're holding them to their prices right now with this holiday because it just looks better for them outside of the U.S. Like. Right now we're into the November-December holiday season. There's some countries copy the whole Black Friday of it all, despite there not being Thanksgiving there. But people are gonna start like thinking about Christmas and blah 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 blah. And it's under best interest to keep their prices as they are. But eventually, like inflation, but eventually, like inflation has reached the point where they may have to. Like to me, that showed that they're not as benevolent. This mightily benevolent company that has all this money that can help them with everything was last week's news about the 1,000 people layoff. That was more layoffs than the Activision Blizzard 800 layoffs. So and that was a calamity, especially like the worst. But here's the thing, like the Activision Blizzard layoffs from like 2018, 2019. When they laid off 800 people, was done in a financial call where they said they had a record-breaking year.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, we made the most money now, and now we're cutting people. So that's like the worst part. Instead of being like, man, it's been tough. Like we haven't made as much money as we can, and because of that, we have to adjust things. So Microsoft can be like, so especially on the Xbox side, like them having the Microsoft umbrella, they can sometimes obfuscate how much money they're doing or try to mix everything up to try to make it seem better. Now I feel like now we're seeing that the economy is such that they're gonna be starting to think of the only reason why they're raising prices because of inflation. Sometimes you have to like hit a special certain, but at the very least they're not doing it immediately. They're just warning you it may have to happen. It still looks good for them, but eventually that's just the reality. Sony just literally took the band-aid and ripped it. Just they were just like very, oh yeah, the inflation is happening, like because of that, sorry, we're price hiking everywhere else.
Then you almost have to wonder, in hindsight, did PlayStation choose the right decision here? Because they're gaining the immediate, they might have taken the hit PR wise, but you could almost argue that they also benefited from the price hike much more, because I don't know if nobody out here is going to be, oh, I'm not going to buy this because it's $10 more outside of Microsoft where they have it elsewhere.
Yeah, what makes it weird is the fact that they didn't price hike in the US. That's the one thing that always looks icky with the PlayStation side of things, because had they also price hiked in the US, I think they could have totally blamed it on inflation, because on the economy. It's just the fact that they price hiked it in territories where they're clearly winning. So and here's the worst part is like, I know that the PlayStation has sold really well in the UK, one of the places where they price hiked after the price hiked. So it's like they proved themselves right. It was like, yeah, we can the currency in all these countries, because that's the thing, like objectively speaking, in these places where they're dominating, their currency right now is like in the toilet compared to how it used to be right now. It's like, is the US dollar currently is holding its value in a way the other currencies are not, which is insane. So
really weird. Yeah.
So that's why like, they did it there, because they knew that they still had a strong foothold there. So they still look bad in the PR, but it's like at the same time they took the hit early. And
right, that's what I'm kind of getting with. It's like, yeah, it's scummy, but then there's also that like shark related comparison you could make where it's like, they did what they had to early and quickly and as painlessly as they possibly could to maximize their profits. So it's like, I can see why they did it, especially now. They almost saw ahead of the curve, and now everyone else has to follow suit in the end anyway.
Yeah, before last week, I was totally in Microsoft totally are not going to price hike because it just looks so good for them and they can stand it. When you have to lay off that many people in all your departments, like, now I understand why now they will feel they have to be forced to price hike everything. And here's the thing, like, they have maintained Xbox Game Pass Ultimate price at $15 a month for a while.
I will give them that. That is impressive.
Just like we saw Netflix price hike, just like we saw every other subscription price hike, they're eventually gonna have this much content that's not gonna hold. Especially, again, like I mentioned, it's like if they had to adjust with laying off 1,000 people, it means that they'll have to make up the difference at any point. Right now, they're at a point where they can maintain that because they're trying to grow their service. Eventually, they will have to increase the price. I bet you top dollar, as soon as the Activision Blizzard deal passes through, which I still think it will, they're being stonewalled right now heavily in the UK, more than I thought I was expecting to, thanks to CMA. As soon as that happens, I bet you price hike, it's gonna at least go up to $20 a month.
I mean, and now then, with once they don't have somebody looking over their shoulder, absolutely, they're gonna ratchet everything that they can to just at least match, if not like maybe eke it up a little bit more to probably save for all of those 1,000 people they just ruined the lives of.
Yeah, but you know who I find funny that they still haven't said anything about any price hike since the initial price hike we learned. Nintendo, they still, but then the difference is that they have way weaker hardware, so it's like they really don't need to. Their games don't go on sale. They can still sell a $60 Mario Kart still.
They can get away with it's brand recognition. It's the fact that they're clearly not utilizing the top technology that's also at a supreme shortage, so they can just keep pumping that crap out. All of their tech is clearly not built to last, so they're getting plenty of money on that. It's almost somehow the best and worst case scenario for any business, but because they've carved out this weird river for themselves that nobody else can touch, they're good. So I don't see them raising their prices unless they want to get greedy.
Yeah, and the only way I see them increasing price is if eventually they do a next-gen machine. We're at a point where the Nintendo Switch came out in 2017. We're moving into 2023. That's 6 years. Yeah. We're reaching the 6-7 year life cycle of a machine, and the Nintendo Switch is way too underpowered at this point. I feel they may be finally reaching a point where if they want to keep trying to get a few games from, because the Switch has been one of the better Nintendo systems in trying to get support after the fact, like, but still getting ports into that system that you would never expect. I mean, getting Bioshock games, the Borderlands games, a few old Assassin's Creed, even, but in a way that they're getting third-party support that they didn't get in the Wii and the Wii U, because they were left hung up to dry when third parties were like, nah, we ain't doing that in the Wii. I wonder eventually they're gonna be like, yeah, we probably need to now finally soup up the Switch, keep the idea because that's working so well for us, and also and knowing that, I wonder how much the Steam Deck has like inspired them, because the Steam Deck has been a massive success for the people that buy it, and like the good PR. Like, if you watch every game we announce on PC, what eventually it's announced, Steam Deck ready. It's reached the point where that's like a selling point for some people. So it's like maybe now they're seeing that now they have a competitor that's stronger in hardware that's like slowly like carving a piece of the pie. Obviously they have the advantage of being in their family friendly kind of pie where they can kind of live by themselves, but eventually, especially with how meager they release their big games. I mean, we waited 6 years to get the next big Zelda game. We still don't even know when we're getting the next big Mario game. Obviously, we're getting the Mario offshoots, and Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope has been very well received by many people. In fact, a lot of people are like, we're shocked this is from Ubisoft. everyone's saying that. So we'll see. Until they do that souped up, I can see them be like, yeah, we're gonna like catch up with the times and sell our games for $70. And it's just, when Nintendo does that, that's gonna suck because they're the most prickly at sales. So
yeah, I think that's about all I got.
Yeah. Story number 4, Paul. Also by Jordan Miller at BGC. Hideo Kojima claims his new game is like a new medium. The director says he's wanted to make this game for years. Speaking in a new interview with The Guardian, the director spoke briefly about one of his upcoming projects. It's almost like a new medium, Kojima said about one of his upcoming games. If this succeeds, it'll turn things around. Not just in the game industry, but in the movie industry as well. The designer added that the challenge for the unnamed title is building the infrastructure. You can have successful experiments, but there's a long distance between an experiment and a place where it's something that becomes a part of everyday usage. The game in question is likely Overdose, one of 2 games currently understood to be in development at Kojima Productions. The second is presumed to be Death Stranding. By the way, do you see that he posted a picture with Jim Ryan? The guy the guy that we love making fun from PlayStation. He posted a picture of him with him recently.
Really?
So yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, so I guess Death Stranding 2 really is happening. So Kojima appeared at the Xbox Bethesda Games Showcase in June to reveal that he's teaming up with Xbox Game Studios to make a game he's wanted to make for a while but was previously unable due to technical limitations. There is a game I have always wanted to make, Kojima said. He echoes this sentiment in the Guardian interview. You can have successful experiments, but there is a long distance between an experiment and a place where it's something that becomes a part of everyday usage, the director said. It was recently confirmed that actor Elle Fanning will appear in the next game from Kojima. The designer is now also teasing a second woman set to appear in the game, with another darkened image reading, "Where am I?" It's believed this could be Margaret Qualley, who starred in Kojima Productions' debut game, Death Stranding. She was Mama. So I love when Kojima talks about like his ideas because he's just so... He's a weird cat. I mean, you see the some of the weird things he tweets.
There's something going on in that man's mind, and I both really want to just understand it and don't want to come within 30 feet of it because it terrifies me, frankly.
Yeah.
You look at that first reveal trailer of Death Stranding, and it was such a stream of consciousness. Weird, like, I don't even understand what the game's about.
No.
I don't know what to feel. This is weird.
Yeah.
But gosh, does he constantly not miss, especially in hindsight for whatever his game was. Once people understand it and can break it down to somebody like me who sometimes struggles to understand what he wants you to do out of it, and he really hates to tell you what to do.
Yeah, I feel like specifically in Death Stranding, the way that game has aged makes it clear that that's his masterpiece. A masterpiece that was initially misunderstood by many. That he came to be appreciated so quickly with what he was trying to convey, what he was seeing with humanity that got laid to bear when the pandemic locked us out, and there's just something, I think there's something about, he must have like some sort of prophetic way in his mind that he just goes and like it takes in this industry such weird directions that when we look in hindsight we're always like, man, he's a genius for having seen this. Like, I always go back to the Metal Gear Solid 2 commentary about about the information age and how that turned out to be
context for things, and like just Death Stranding post 2020 hits so different now, and every one of his games has taught me a lot about humanity, a lot about history somehow, and just so much about his mind, and yet I feel like I'm nowhere close to understanding how he really breaks down things he digests and turns them into his own stories. And it's just so whack. So I fully believe what he's saying right here, essentially, to come full circle with it, where he's saying he wants it to be a new medium, and each of his games, besides maybe Metal Gear Solid 5 almost was like a return to a gamified version of a.
That's his most gamey. That's his gamiest game. That's like,
yes.
In fact, a lot of people were shocked that he could make a game so gamey, considering his cinematic pretensions.
Seriously. So yeah, minus Metal Gear Solid 5. I feel like each time he's pushed the envelope more and more to push games as a general idea further, but then also it just wants to make something very specific to his own mind. Death Stranding was by far the furthest push, I think, in that, and even now it's like, now that I understand what it's about, it makes it so much more digestible. And now that people have broken down like the lore and all that stuff, it's like, okay, I get it. Now he's like, all right, I want to do something next. I was like, oh gosh, this is gonna suck at first because I never put my mind into the right headspace for it. But I'm also super excited because every time he puts his mind to medium, he makes something crazy.
In the AAA space, it's weird having someone that's willing to take chances, and that's what I love about him, and that he is someone that's able to convince multi-million-dollar corporations to like give them millions of dollars to fund their vanity projects. Like, to me, like, it's insane that Stranding came out from like from like Sony first party. That would have been like an easily indie game that could have had like maybe a Kickstarter could have funded it, and that's why I am excited to see what is in his mind, because obviously I think what he's talking about here is the Xbox game he's making with Xbox Game Studios, because it specifically talked about cloud technology. In fact, that's what he wanted to do with Google before Stadia went the way of the dodo, and they were like, no, we're not doing first party content anymore. So
Stadia.
Like, God bless him. It's like he really wants to think outside the box and see how all these different technologies can power his games. And we need that, especially when the more we go into the AAA space where things are getting more expensive, the more you're going to see more risk aversion. So we got to protect this man at all costs, because we don't see... Because then the most we can get of someone that does weird stuff is Yoko Taro, the guy that made Nier Automata. And even then, like, he was able to do Nier in like a shoestring budget, because that game looks old and not highly produced, and he was able to do his vanity project with the biggest bells and whistles in one of the most stunning games ever, with its own style and substance. So, pun intended.
The best way to wrap up all my thoughts into one sentence is, I may not always agree or like what Kojima makes, but by God, I will defend to the death his right to make it, because we need that.
Yeah, we need the artistry to like win out over just the money-making moves. So, final story, Paul. This one broke also today, and this was very exciting because I don't know why I never thought this could have been what they were mentioning they were planning to do, but they finally like gave us details. So, final story by Andy Robinson from Video Games Chronicle. CD Projekt Red is remaking The Witcher in Unreal Engine 5. According to the company, the remake will be rebuilt from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5 and is currently in the early stages of development at the Polish studio's Fool's Theory, where Better and Witcher series staff are involved. CD Projekt Red is providing full creative supervision, it said. It's been confirmed that the remake is the same title that was announced earlier this month as Canis Majoris. It's still early, and we want to ensure that the game is created with the utmost care and attention to detail. Therefore, while we're excited to share the news with you, we want to ask you for patience, as it will be a while until we start talking about this project in detail, the company said on Wednesday. CD Projekt Red boss Adam Badowski said in a statement, "The Witcher is where it all started for us, for CD Projekt Red. It was the first game we made, ever, and it was a big moment for us then. Going back to this place and remaking the game for the next generation of gamers to experience it feels just as big, if not bigger. Collaborating with Fool's Theory in the project is just as exciting, as some of the people there have been previously involved in the Witcher games. They know the source material well, they know how much gamers have been looking forward to seeing the remake happen, and they know how to make incredible and ambitious games. And although it will take some time before we're ready to share more about it from the game, I know it'll be worth the wait." The original Witcher, Paul, came out on PC in 2007, the year of our Lord, the year that gave us Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, Mass Effect, BioShock,
which is
the
really
Orange Box.
funny when you look at gameplay of it.
Yeah, it looks older than that.
Yes. I'm gonna look this up because I want these images to be burned into my memory again.
Mm-hmm.
It's It looks like an early PS2 game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the environments aren't the worst. It's the faces.
Yeah.
It is really just that lack of texture work. It is the poor Geralt especially. My goodness. This guy looks rough.
Even though they released something called the Enhanced Edition that you can get on Steam right now. Golly, it's like I'm looking at a picture of Geralt. Oh God, I'm gonna send you this image in our chat just for you to
Please
see it.
Do. Yeah, it didn't age well, and as we've also talked about, I'd only played the second game of the series before the third
on
came
360.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could not get past like the first act because it did not follow along with general. Yeah, that's the one. It didn't follow like logic. It was so impossible to follow the map. It was weird to kind of play through the game. I didn't understand what it wanted out of me. It was like it would punish me for things randomly. The third game, it still almost did some of those things, but you almost understood what it wanted from you and the kind of world that it was really building through and building towards. But then just the first game, I've only seen little bits of gameplay of it and little cutscenes and things, and there's a reason why all they could do was give you a quick explanation with really good art of the events of the first game for both the second and the third, because they were just like, don't even try to play this, guys. Just watch our recap of it and keep playing the game. So I'm honestly kind of excited about this because this is their opportunity to really come back with a full force vengeance.
Yeah.
This is their first foray into Unreal Engine 5, so they can actually get some of the issues out before their next Witcher game.
And we don't even know if this may even come out before the new Witcher game, because that's also being done in Unreal Engine 5, and this is not being done by CDPR, it's by Full Theory.
That's right. So it's, I mean, they're working together close enough that I think there's going to be
they're
a lot of
supervising. They're
together.
supervising, yeah.
So I think especially if this manages to come out first, this is their good opportunity to just like, all right, this is like, you have no precedence for what came before this because the PC game was old enough that nobody really wanted to play it. This is just going to be like, all right, this is a good idea for what's going to come next, but it gets all of the problems out so that we can just keep doing better.
To me, it's so weird how scattershot it is to be able to experience the entirety of that original Witcher trilogy, because think about it, it's like,
it's impossible.
This original one was just on PC. Obviously, it's very, and the second was
PC and 360.
PC and 360. The thing is that it first came out on PC, then the Enhanced Edition came on 360 a year later, but just on 360. And then on 2015, that's when finally The Witcher 3 was available for anyone over on PlayStation. And obviously the Xbox people at least got to play the second game. But
it's only a very Kingdom Hearts situation for sure.
Yeah.
And Metal Gear Solid.
So yeah, if they're remaking this first game, then that means that the second game is also gonna be next in the docket, and now they're finally gonna rectify having the three main games playable in like all available systems and with modern Code of Paint. So that to me is exciting. I'm still waiting for Wild Hunt to give me the PS5 enhanced version.
Which they still say they're trying to do that this year, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be at this point, based on how things have gone, I think I'm just bracing myself for 2023 for that one. So I kind of want to, because obviously I've been playing Witcher-esque games with the Assassin's Creed games, but I kind of want to play the real thing. So, and that concludes this week's news, Paul. So, nothing to update for our 10 most anticipated games. Kind of what we mentioned last week, that 2 of those games got Metacritics. RE Village Winter's expansion comes out this Friday. I've been seeing some of the reviews, and they're not too hot. Let's put it like, at least GameSpot already put out a review. I was like, what? Is there reviews already out? Let me see. Resident Evil Village, Winters.
And as far as there's no real Metacritic for Modern Warfare 2 yet, even though it's just the campaign, right?
Yeah, that one's gonna come out probably by Monday, so we'll know like how. Let's see if the multiplayer is good enough that it's not gonna affect its entire. So especially because IGN gave it a 6, but GameSpot gave the campaign an 8. So already I think that's gonna be a divisive campaign. We're definitely in the lower side.
I think it's going to be definitely divisive as well for the multiplayer, but I could see it opening up lower than most of the other multiplayers, but then slowly building itself as the people that actually like it stay around. And
but Metacritics usually stay. That's what sucks about Metacritic, is that they only take into account the first initial batch of reviews, not like updated reviews or ones that come out much later, or even if they have like updated. So whatever the score is gonna be it from how they launch. I don't like it either because of how the way games work these days.
Especially now, it's not, hey, this is release and that's all you get forever. It's, hey, this was a release which was really bad, but don't worry, we fixed all of it, and it's been 5 years.
Yeah,
and
that's why I tell. It's why I score reviews. Like, I hate how much weight there is to score reviews sometimes, because the games are not that one and done. Like when it used to be in the cartridge era, where that was a game. So. So because sometimes, like, even like for example, Gotham Knights right now has a 69. I think that is gonna hold that score, and I can see down the line where they're gonna patch it, and maybe it's gonna be more stable, and all of that. More people are gonna see it, but then it's like it's got that nice score stuck in front of it now. So
seriously.
But yeah, so now we're gonna read the game releases for the next week. So, oh, by the way, just preliminary, the Village Winter's expansion has a 67. So add it to the list here. In your list. So.
I'm trying to Google some of these releases for this.
This
weekend. Boy,
so game releases.
Yeah,
game releases for October 30th and November 5th. It looks like a kind of a filler week for me. So, Endling Extinction is Forever comes to PS5, X, and Xbox Series X and S on November 3rd. How to Say Goodbye, which sounds like How to Save a Life from The Fray. Comes to Switch, PC, Mac, iOS, and Android also November 3rd. The Chant comes to PS5 and Xbox Series X and S and PC on November 3rd. I wonder what that is.
It's like a horror game, it looked like.
Yes, it says action. So, it's from Cog Media. Yeah, I see. It's one of
Entropy Center, that's the one that we watched the trailer for.
Yeah, so that comes to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4 and Xbox One and PC on November 3rd.
Keep your eye on that, everybody.
Yes, WRC Generations comes to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One and PC on November 3rd. Demon Throttle comes to Switch on November 4th. Harvestella comes to Switch and PC on November 4th. And It Takes Two comes to Switch on November 4th. If I would actually care about any of this, maybe I would see the... Entropy Center is the one that you showed me that has the little robot.
Like
yeah, that one looked cute. I want to hear what people say about it, and maybe wait for a sale, because we God of War Ragnarok is the week after.
And WRC Generations is like competitor to Dirt, the racing game.
Yeah.
And Demon Throttle, it looks almost like a remaster of a really old game, almost like Bullet Hell style, top down. Look to it.
Yeah, by Devolver Digital. Yeah,
very classic looking. So it's like, if that's your style, that looks like a solid game. For sure.
I feel probably the most interesting game that's come out from this week, other than probably Entropy Center, from what we see, is probably Harvestella.
Definitely.
That's the RPG / Harvest Moon-ish Square Enix game. Where I remember you mentioned that you had some friends that your friend Duncan would know that would really dig it.
Absolutely.
you
there's some people that would really get into that one for sure.
Yeah. So, and with that, Paul, that concludes this week's episode. I can't wait. It's literally 2 weeks for Ragnarok from when we're recording. I can't believe it's that close. It's insane. Reviews next time we record on November 3rd.
Terrified.
Yeah.
Just terrified.
Yeah, but it's finally happening. I can't believe that I went from, I don't think I'm remaining skeptical all year, and then the previews have been glowing, and I'm like, oh man, it's actually gonna happen, right? It's gonna be better.
Breaking down, man.
Oh yeah, it's been what a year, I tell you, Paul. So where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. As every time I post random art and breaking video games most often than not. One for just the funniness of it, and then one for my actual passions and outlet for art, because social media just hates artists, it seems.
Oh yeah.
Where can they find
algorithms? They suck. They can find me at A_Dorsegovia on Twitter. They can find me at Alejandro Segovia 93 on Instagram. My written content at thecriticalcorner.com. And whenever we stream our streams at twitch.tv/thislayergiant. Someday we're gonna pick back up and kill Chaos, Paul, because
we will. That's just lying in dormant. I know we're gonna finish that one for
sure.
Oh
yes, I wanted to because I know we were liking it. It's just that now we were in the season. So
we gotta do what that SSD is willing to let us actually store on our PS5. So
yeah,
that'll get re-downloaded after all this is done.
Absolutely. So it's been fun, Paul. So I'll probably see you online. Maybe we'll play Gotham Knights again. Kind of keep going, and hopefully it won't keep crashing on me like it did yesterday when we were doing co-op. So hope your wife feels better, and everyone that listens to us, we always thank you so much. If you like what you listen, give us a like or subscribe. If you're feeling likely, send us a comment. Sometimes we love responding to those comments. I definitely had some choice words to say in Twitter when people were coming at me for also giving Modern Warfare a 6 out of 10, and not understanding that everyone can have their own opinions. It was a fun way to
I have to look that up, because I saw your post and I actually didn't think to look at the comments, so I want to find this one out.
Yeah, it had a few comments that people were not like they were incensed that I would put like World at War like low, and I'm like, that's
right, because you made some hot takes on that one, didn't you?
Because I played them recently. That's how I felt.
So, you did. I'm not going to say they're not valid, but it's really funny because it definitely does not line up with what people would call the Watch Mojo top 10. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but the number 1 and number 2, I doubt everyone wouldn't have those because it's just logic. But maybe one day I'll run through that list in this episode, in one of those episodes, Paul. At least just from my side, and you throw your 2 cents. Happens. We also have to do that for Assassin's Creed. We have a few potential evergreens where we can do that. So, all right, Paul. I'll see you online. Everyone, stay safe. Play some games. Have fun. Almost Halloween's coming soon, so have fun with some costumes. Don't engage on satanic stuff. You know what? And remember,
press X
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta luego.